Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. What a day to watch some Call of Duty. Scump's first ever watch party since retiring from professional Call of Duty, and it was a fantastic watch of that. Dominated the CDL in terms of viewership, especially during the match against the Seattle Surge, in which OpTic win Game 5. Surge, what is their Search and Destroy doing? But certainly Prid and Sib were putting on a bit of a display for why they might want to be on the OpTic team this time next season. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Firstly, just to mention, I know many of you guys have been requesting this on the fantasy side. If you picked any of Scump, Zero and Kenny, then, you know, what's going to happen to your fantasy? Because it's a bit difficult on the website from the back end to actually make the points transfer and all this, but we found a way to make it work. So Dashy is starting with the amount of points that Scump did have, and the same for Paulx and Zero. Funny thing is that we actually announced this change before London themselves announced the fact that Paulx is going to be in the roster, but, you know, well, back in the roster, of course. And then Kenny and Capstar, they've swapped again for today's game and presumably for tomorrow's match as well. So quick update on that side of things. And then indeed it was confirmed that Paul is now back in the London team. Like, I simply don't understand what they're thinking, why this is going on. I know many are saying free Asim, and you can totally understand why. Zero has not been especially impressive, unfortunately. Neither has Scrap since he came in, so I thought, okay, finally they might say, you know what, Gizmo, Harry will give them a go again, and I think deservedly so. But Paulx is now back in. Like, surely this isn't the solution to this team's issues. The AR line hasn't been very good. The SMG line's been okay. Nasty's been decent, apart from Control. Asim obviously has been the standout. So, yeah, I don't really know what they're playing at London, but still, that we'll see what they happen to do tomorrow. This then was the watch party. So, okay, early on it was a little bit scuffed, right? They've got all the monitor in the background, right? Or the projector in the background. They've got, you know, the audio was a little bit of an issue, but it's a great setup for this. I honestly didn't think it was going to be this next level that OpTic put on for the Scump watch party. I thought he was just going to be turning on the stream, chatting, you know, with the chat and all this, but turns out they actually made this serious. And what was so good is after the OpTic series, the fact that, you know, Shotzzy came on, like Huke and Dashy came on just to discuss it, and hearing Scump talk about the game is actually next level. Like, you know, a lot of the watch parties, the flanks and stuff, you don't quite get the same insight that you get from professional players, and hearing Scump live watching, breaking down the game, given it's a game that he's just finished playing his playing career on, he knows Modern Warfare 2, understands it, the way the spawn systems work, all this type of stuff, and was obviously playing the game at a very high level, arguably OpTic's best player, before he stepped away after that monster series he had to beat Boston last week in another Game 5 that OpTic seem to like right now. OpTic may be the new Florida Mutineers doing the, doing the NYSLing. The CDL did a nice kind of tribute video for Scump as well, you know, his match. I thought this was kind of funny, to be honest, from back when they had the baseball game thing that they did with the Rangers, and as Scump says, today's going to be a very weird day, and he actually said on stream that he was, you know, feeling super nervous about it, right? He woke up in the morning, so, oh my god, like, what are people going to think about it? And he was equally nervous before he, well, probably more nervous, right, before he actually announced the decision to retire, thinking the fans would not be happy with him for stepping away when he did. I think that obviously he's earned the right to do whatever he wants in Call of Duty, to be honest, and this was the details he gave of the first OpTic watch party, so great job from Rokkr and Matt and all the guys that put this together, because I'm sure it's only going to get better over time. The setup is phenomenal here at the Envy headquarters, and everything is, well, all systems go. They had everything ready, and it was just a great show, like, and the viewership was absolutely immense. They knew the viewership was going to be immense, obviously, but I didn't really think it was going to be even as good as it turned out to be. This was what it was. I mean, this was like during the first game, map 1 of the first game, the COD League only had 25k at this time. Scump already had 40k, which I guess is understandable, but you know, these numbers would only raise throughout the evening, and this is a Friday, right? This isn't a championship Sunday at an event. Scump also discussed that he felt like, you know, when he made the decision, it was great to see Scump sitting there, clearly, like, actually, you know, enjoying himself, right? Not with all the stress on him, and actually just sitting there having a good time, chilled out, and just talking with the boys about whatever, right? It was nice because I think Scump, a lot of the times you see him the last, you know, few months, let's say, there is this element of stress you can tell that Scump is under at that point with all the drama going on, and it kind of maybe felt like when he was on the podcast, you know, he kind of had that really happy-go-lucky almost attitude. I'm sure he was still feeling the stress within a week or two ago, but you guys remember when he saw on the podcast, they're like, oh yeah, it's you guys won't expect this, or like, you know, it's going to be a real surprise to people or whatever. Maybe what he meant by that was not that they're signing Prid or Huke, because I think people guessed that. It was that he was gonna retire, right? And then maybe as it turned out, he kind of had to keep around for a little bit longer because they couldn't get Prid or whatever, and then he retired a week or so after. When Dashy comes back, absolute madness. Maybe that's what he kind of meant all along. But I think there was some sort of more ease in Scump when he decided to actually take this decision, and I think it's been good for him. And also in a weird way, it could be good for the scene, because I mean, yeah, today was mega from many different angles. kills. Like, I mean, the stream across just Scump's stream and the CDL broadcast had 150k for the OpTic game, and that was only their 2 streams. That wasn't Zuma's stream, that wasn't additional broadcasts, so, you know, awesome stuff. And apparently they also might be touring this to the event, which certainly makes sense, right? Because it would be unfortunate for sure if they were able to do this for the qualifiers and couldn't do something similar for the major, which would be absolutely phenomenal. So hopefully they can make that work as well, but that is what we presently believe. The CDL did a great job doing a thank you. They did many different thank you videos, really. They had multiple ones of them, one when they started, one as they went on. Does make me feel a little bit right though, like Crim6, okay, Scump obviously for Call of Duty has done more for the scene than Crim6 has done, but nonetheless, Crim won the most championships, Crim has done all this, and he basically got no send-off at all. They were like, oh yeah, the GOAT retired at the end of the season. I just felt a bit bad for Crim, really, because Scump gets deservedly a mega send-off, but Crim, like, what did he really get from the CDL? Basically nothing, and maybe he didn't earn anything from the CDL because he wasn't always the best to them, and they weren't always the best to him, and I think he believes there's some sort of great theory that they're trying to, you know, shut him down or whatever the league are, but at least Scump got a good send-off by all involved in the league. Now, let's talk about the matches. So we'll just do 2 of them today. I'll discuss the Thieves game briefly tomorrow morning, but firstly, Subliners versus Florida, and this is, as Sender described after the series, what he believed was a masterclass in respawn, and I totally agree. New York, I mean, look, I really rate Guerrillas as a coach, and I feel like he's done a lot for this team, but also the players they brought in are looking so good. Kismet, Hydra, Sky, I mean, they were all on fire, and from about 100 in this Florida game to the end of the game was just an absolute masterclass, to be honest. Like, the rotations, so clean. This is how the best teams tend to play. Like, the first maybe couple of rotations are pretty even, and then when it gets to the second half of the game, they just pull a massive lead and win. Florida did bounce back in game 2 and win because they love a good search and destroy, and I'm sure that New York were thinking, you know what, let's try and make sure this doesn't go game 5. They smoked them in the control beyond belief. Florida had no chance, and then they pretty much demolished them in the final respawn as well. So this was a 3-1, just, I mean, look, it was 3-1. It could have gone game 5, could have been a different story, but this was practically a demolition job. Bracca 0.7, Havoc 0.6, Vickle and Major Maniac kind of struggling. They had their moments, certainly Vickle did, but yeah, Kismet a 1.31, Hydra a 1.6, most damage in the lobby. I mean, what more can you say about this team? Skies was doing basically nothing. There was one game I saw him, I think he was like, I don't know, 9 in 9, and Major was like 7 in 7, and yeah, he drops 6,000 damage, 46 kills. Doesn't matter when your SMG duo is doing that. So, man, they're a scary team. Certainly the best team in the game right now, I think. New York, I mean, look, they did win the first event. They've continued on that path so far. Definitely the team to beat. Maybe, I think FaZe play them on Sunday, so that's going to be a banger. But you've still kind of got to favour New York right now. Their teamwork is on another level. And as I said, right, the Scump Watch Party presumably will come to other events. And, I mean, yeah, the flank will probably still be going. Hopefully it will. But, you know, Scump Watch Party is going to be built different, I'm sure, in terms of viewership numbers. And speaking of the Scump Watch Party, they did get to watch an OpTic game, of course. That was the big kind of talking point of the day. OpTic with their new roster. Dashy is now back in. Now, worthy of mention here. We might talk about this more tomorrow, depending. But, you know, where was Rambo today? I didn't really see anything of Rambo. Maybe he was on there briefly, but I didn't really see him. There was also some behind-the-scenes footage where Rambo wasn't really there. You'd have kind of expected to see Rambo there in the headquarters, or the headquarters, sorry, the Envoy headquarters with the guys, if that was what was going on. So, I don't know. Maybe there's something going on there. We saw Shotzzy say that something's happening that he can't quite yet talk about. So, maybe Rambo's stepping into a different role or something, because it's kind of surprising that he wasn't there with the guys. And Dashy did have a massive smile in his face, so maybe there was a reason why. But I don't know. Anyway, the first part of this fortress was mad. They went of 120 to 21, and I was like, oh my god. Like, obviously, Surge are terrible at search and destroy. And if OpTic were up by 100 here in the respawn, I was like, oh my god, this could be a pretty quick series. Turns out, though, Surge came back on a mega one and won this series, and won this map dominantly. They outscored OpTic 229 to 46 on the second set of rotations, and just completely bowled them over. So it was a bit of a weird one for OpTic. Their respawn definitely needs a bit of work, but thankfully for them, their search and destroy is good, as is their controllers, it seems. This was a crazy snipe actually here from Sib. I think it was Shotzzy tried to make the play on Sib, and he turns around and quick scopes him for the round. Doesn't matter for OpTic though. iLLeY was hitting some great snipes again. I don't know if iLLeY's the best sniper in the league right now, but he's got to be up there because he's hit some nasty ones. And yeah, Huke manages to win the 1 versus 1, clutches up and makes sure that Pred doesn't clutch his ridiculous 1 versus 3. But yeah, Pred, obviously, that was one of the big storylines here, right? Pred and Sib, certainly Pred in conversation to be on the OpTic roster next season. Obviously, they wanted Pred. He was meant to be the man to be there instead of Huke, right? And it's great to see Huke doing well as well. I think this guy's been disrespected a lot. Good to see him kind of thriving in this new system. But nonetheless, Pred was trying to prove he's the man for the job, as was Sib, and they did a great job on map number 4 this series, most certainly. They do end up winning the search and destroy OpTic, tying it up at 1-1 in this one, icing up as they would need to in game 5. Then Lamar was holding the line is, of course, the famous quotation between OpTic and FaZe from Miles back in stage 1 of Call of Duty Vanguard. Thankfully, we're not playing that game anymore, but it's not too much better, to be honest. And while this was going on, Scump got up to 67,000 viewers, and it would get better and better from there. You can see at the time, Scump's on, he's more than XQC, more than the COD League, and this is something that you can kind of see when, let's say, Valorant is streaming their matches and Tarek is doing the watch parties. It's the same thing. The Valorant stream has less viewership than the Tarek stream, and it can be the same story here with Scump, and it probably will continue to be. I mean, the viewership across Scump stream and the COD League is absolutely mega, and it's great to see, because, okay, Scump retires, but many of his fans still want to tune into his content, and this is some of the best content I've really ever seen from Scump. He's sitting there commentating on the games, giving really great insight, discussing with various guests they could bring on. Of course, they had Hex and Bose, that was pretty good to listen to as well, but when they brought the players on, they could do other things. Man, this is going to be a good time, and I know that people are really, were fearful of Scump retiring for what it means for COD, but on the evidence I saw today, it's not going to be anywhere near as bad as I think we thought it might initially be, especially because the future of OpTic Texas might be in good hands if they can get hold of these fellas. Maybe they won't need to, but nonetheless, these guys went off on the main stage game 4, 60 in 27 combined on Hotel, dominated OpTic on this one, and set up a game 5. The issue is, though, of course, for Seattle Surge, is that they cannot win a Search and Destroy to save their life. An absolute embarrassment, it must be said, in Search and Destroy right now. Scump at this point, this was, I think, the highest numbers that I saw screenshotted. 87,500 viewers for Scump, 64-ish thousand for the league. So that is 150,000 already between just those two. And on the other streams, I don't know if that's a record for kind of a qualifier match viewership. Maybe the record was set right at the start of the season. But it does kind of feel like we're leveling up, making progress, making some moves somewhere right now. And, Scump was obviously going to help us along the way, as he has always done from day one in this scene. So Shotzzy just demolished them, opening duels. Again, Fortress. I don't really know what Seattle Surge's obsession is with playing Fortress Search and Destroy. They've lost it so many times, and they continue to get bodied on it again and again and again. So, I mean, yeah, Shotzzy went off on this one, and Zio, kind of clutched up with the ice. Shotzzy and Huke clutched this one. Pretty crucial round here, because it was 3-0. If it becomes 4-0, you're probably going to, take the L, and Accuracy can't quite get this kill. The guys get him nicely pinched in at 4-0. That pretty much spelled the ends, and as you guys can see here, the behind the scenes where they win this series, or they win this map 6-2, you might expect here that, because this is JP, right, coming into the mix to fist bump the guys. So, where's Rambo, right? You might have thought Rambo would be there to do it. So, just one thing to notice. I'm not sure if anything's actually happening, but does align a little bit with what Shotzzy said the other day. Want to keep your eyes on for sure, but they win this map, they win the series. iLLeY, of course, is not here, right, because he's in Canada in the Toronto facility. They'll play them tomorrow, I think, maybe on Sunday. And these were the overall numbers. So Dashy and Huke actually negative. Dashy, again, he's not exactly come back with a bang here, right, Dashy, just because there was some talk, because before he got dropped, statistically, he actually wasn't great. But it doesn't matter if you're going to clutch him in your searches, and that's the thing. Sib and Pred can do it again. They both have 1.2s, but they lose in both Search and Destroys, and that's the key weakness they have. In the qualifier matches so far this season, they are now 0 in 10. Like, how remarkable is that? To win a series, they need to win all 3 respawns. If they lose a single respawn, it's chalk. Like, it's not looking good. They're 1 in 6 now in their qualifiers. They always lose Search and Destroy. I predicted today it was going to be 3-1 New York and 3-2 to OpTic Texas, because they just can't win a search to save their lives. But maybe, possibly, OpTic Texas can save Pred and Sib if they pick them up next season, if they want to do that, depending on how successful this roster turns out to be. And obviously, it was great after this series concluded. They got Scump sitting down with, obviously, part of the former team. Huke is there now. This, wasn't fully the former team they had last weekend, because that was iLLeY instead of Dashy, but nonetheless, it was cool seeing, after all the drama, just to see Scump and Dashy sitting next to each other, having a good time. It was good to see as well. So, yeah, just a great day, I think, all things considered. Obviously, a few days ago, it was kind of sad. Scump steps away. Obviously, you can always look at it in different ways when Scump retires. Is it sad? Is it, like, kind of happy for the memories, stuff like this? But all things considered, it was great to witness. So plenty more to discuss tomorrow. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.